Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 71 of Big Brother Season 23's overnight feed recaps, and welcome to Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. All right, for those of you who didn't stay up last night to watch the overnight feeds, you missed so much. Oh my gosh, once the feeds came back on, so much controversy, drama. No, I'm just kidding. I just getting y'all's heart pumped up a little bit here in the morning. Now, you didn't miss anything. The live feeds went down that around noon or so yesterday, Wednesday, and they won't be back on until after the live episode on Thursday, but they won't be back on until after the episode on Thursday. Sounds like it won't be a live one, at least not all of it. But we've got a couple of days with the live feeds are down, which meant a little nap time for me, which was nice. But just because the live feeds weren't on didn't mean that we still didn't have some things to talk about, some interesting little developments, eavesdropping and the scheduling, and is there a twist going on? A couple of things I just wanted to go ahead and highlight while I had the moment today, since we don't have the feeds themselves to talk about. So yeah, it actually was pretty interesting, considering that we've been seeing this forever, for the last 24 hours or so. So let's talk about those two topics and what may be going on. First of all, we did see just for a little while yesterday, about 7:30 or so in the morning, the music came on, or We'll Be Right Back came on. The live feeds cut away from the house guest, which usually is an indication that they're being woken up. And sure enough, we saw the lights on when it came back. And that's a little bit early for the house guest to be getting up on a Wednesday. So at that point, I already knew there was a little something different going on. And then sure enough, just a little bit after that, the feeds go away completely. And we started suspecting that something really interesting may be going on. And it got even better just a few hours later. I want to say before noon or so, it was just a few hours later, after all that's happening, we heard a little eavesdropping going on. Yes, I know a little bit about eavesdropping. The producers are kind of dealing with what I was dealing with in a little bit different way. But yeah, I know a little something about that. But we're still on the animals on the screen, but in the background, we can hear audio that is not the Big Brother song that gets burned into our brains after watching these live feeds for so long. No. Instead, we hear a couple of things. We hear the house guests talking, laughing a little bit. We hear music playing, and we hear some people. It sounds like they may be something to do with Big Brother production, talking different things. The biggest part of it is apparently there is a veto competition going on. What the bleep? Yeah, that's what's going on with that? Are the house guests playing the veto competition early? No, I don't think so. I think, and here's the thing: during the veto competition, we hear that Kyland apparently has won, and we hear someone say, "Nah, it should have been Hannah." All right, where's Kat Dunn when I need her? Let's talk a little conspiracies. I'm sure she's got all kinds of ideas as well. So yeah, I think there's a simple explanation for it, though, guys. Here's what I think probably happened with all of the weird stuff going on yesterday, audio-wise. On a regular week, a typical week where you've got a Thursday live eviction episode, the feeds are down a lot during that day, right? We all know that. Well, here's the reason: because when we're inside the house, we typically will wake up, we'll start getting ready, people getting themselves all prettied up and everything. And at some point we're locked down a couple of times. And we go through a little rehearsal in the main living room where we practice the order of voting out. And normally there's some kind of little funny vote. Do you vote zombies or aliens out of the house? And so we all take turns to go in the order it's going to be the actual show. And so there is rehearsal that's involved. So we as house guests do that. And typically right after that, we're booted upstairs. We're sent up to the HOH room. The monitor's turned off, so we can't see anything else going on in the house. And music plays for us. We never got a choice of what the music was. It's just random music that's being played. The door is locked, so we can't open the door. We're stuck in the HOH room, typically for a couple hours, lots of times. I think that's what happened yesterday. I think that the house guests were locked up in the HOH room. What we heard was them talking, laughing. We heard music playing. I think I read somewhere it was Rihanna that was playing. They got to listen to the whole Rihanna album. Again, we just got random music But it doesn't matter. It's still nice to hear a little music. But I think that's what we were hearing was all of that music, house guests locked upstairs. And while they're doing that, while we were doing it during our season, production is downstairs, making sure all the camera angles are set up right, that all the lighting is perfect. If they have to tilt a camera, if they have to change a light bulb, all that just technical kind of stuff. So they're inside making sure all of that's taken care of for the episode shot, the eviction that's going to happen later in the day or in the evening. Meanwhile, and I don't know if I 100% knew this beforehand, but meanwhile, there's people outside that apparently are testing out the HOH, the veto competitions, because there's lots of cameras filming those, right? So they're making sure that all the cameras are set up right to capture the shots, that the music's set up right, that the script that's used to explain the rules, to explain, so-and-so won, all of that is rehearsed. You can imagine a live show. They don't want to have screw-ups during that. So everything is practiced, everything is rehearsed. And even though this won't be live, they still want to go through the same motions. And apparently, they also use stand-ins to represent the players, the house guest, so they can get the proper shots, line them, all of that stuff. I know Survivor does it, Big Brother does it as well. I think a lot of the reality shows do it. So I think that's the other half of what we're hearing. House guest upstairs listening to music and talking, downstairs running through the veto competition, while the stand-ins practice, while they're getting their camera angles. Someone, not Julie, is reading Julie's lines. And again, it's all about the timing, the camera shots, everything that you would expect on a TV show. So I think that's all it is, guys. I don't think there's any huge conspiracy to any of that. Now, here's one more thing for anyone who may think that the house guests were actually out there. I've heard discussion that maybe that was the real veto. I don't think it was. Or that the house guests were out practicing for the veto. I don't believe that for a second. We didn't practice these things, guys. We, especially something like What the Bleep, where you just stand in a booth, you answered yes or no questions. It's not some huge technical competition that there may be some misunderstanding on the rules or anything like that. It's a very cut and dried stand in the booth answering questions. The house guests would have never been practicing that type of show. So I really don't think they're out there. I don't think Kylan really won. I don't think there was anything to that. Now, this whole idea that Kylan was announced the winner and then production came back and someone in production said, should have been Hannah. What's going on with that? I've heard little conspiracies with that as well. Was there something to that? I don't think so. Maybe the stand-in messed up and was supposed to pick one answer and didn't pick an answer or something, or turned it at the last second. And I don't know. I don't even know that they're really asking the questions themselves, but it could be that the person standing in as Hannah just messed up. It could be that whoever was standing in for Hannah is best buddies with whoever the production person is. I don't imagine in the days of COVID and all of that they hired actors to come stand in these booths just to stand there as temporary people. I have a feeling that there's production PAs and people like that who work on the Big Brother set who were just told, say, all right, you're going to go down, represent different people. Could be that whoever that production person is that said it could have been Hannah is besties with the person who was standing in representing Hannah. And it's nothing more than that. It could be that the production person is cheering on Hannah and that's her favorite and she just expressed some personal opinion. It could be any of those, but I don't think there's any huge conspiracy. If Hannah wins this, or if Kylan wins this veto competition that we see next, What the Bleep, all kinds of people are going to make all kinds of suggestions. I just don't buy it. I think it's much more simple than that, but still made for an interesting Wednesday listening to all of that going on. So, all right, let's see. A couple of things that we did pick up, though, from there. First of all, during this little audio leak of the veto competition, we never heard Tiffany's name mentioned, which gives me the assumption or the belief that she probably was voted out of the house, which would have happened before. Well, no, I take that back. There's no, this probably happened before the actual eviction ceremony. So it could just be that production is assuming based on diary room sessions, things like that Tiffany's going home. But at least I think production is assuming that Tiffany's going to get booted as in the final 6 position. since we never heard her name mentioned. Now, here's the other thing. At the end of the rehearsal, we hear the fake Julie saying, all right, guys, hurry inside, get indoors immediately. So it sounds like just like a typical Thursday night double eviction episode, they're going to be rushing everyone. They're going to keep that pressure on of doing everything very fast. So I don't think it's going to be stretched out beyond regular just because it's not live. I think they're still going to do the first eviction, the HOH, the veto competition, and then the second nomination and eviction all in the span of 1 hour. So I think they'll still keep it compressed based on what we heard. Now, the interesting thing is, well, a couple of things done. Let's talk about schedule a little bit. Once done, once they complete the eviction, the HOH, veto, everything else, I expect that we'll have a final 4 HOH today. The competition itself, and then probably the nominations tomorrow. And they'll be doing that. They've pushed everything up. I think we're talking about schedules. I think they've pushed everything up because we don't have a show on Sunday. Instead, the show is Friday, so it's 2 days earlier. So look at these producers. They've got to fill in not just 1 hour on Thursday, but now they've got 2 hours of show to fill on Thursday. And then they've got a third hour on Friday to show instead of having it happen on Sunday. It takes a long time for them to put this together. It's a lot more involved than we as viewers sometimes notice. I certainly know there were lots of times where I would get called into a diary room session at 3 o'clock in the morning because they just needed a little bit more content for the next day's show. So I know these guys are going by the seat of their pants and trying to get all this stuff put together last minute and have it all ready for the show itself. So I have a feeling everything accelerated up just so they could get everything taken care of and ready to go on by Friday. So I think that's the case. Now, the fact that tonight's episode is 2 hours does make it a little bit interesting because instead of a 1 hour double eviction, we've got 2 hours. Is that going to be because they're filling in the second hour with a lot of jury house content? I expect to see a lot of that, but are they going to have a lot more jury house content to represent that second hour? Or is there something else going on that we don't know about? And that brings up the final topic I wanted to talk about. Could there be some kind of twist going on? Yeah, there could. The simple answer is that everything has just been pushed up because the show is on Friday instead of Sunday, and they got to get the content. That's a simple answer. The more exciting answer, the more interesting one to talk about is if there's some kind of twist. And when I think about twist, the one that comes to mind, and I've heard other people mention as well, the idea of a fake double eviction. And that's not so unheard of. We had that happen in Big Brother Canada last season. So how does a fake double eviction work? And there may be another name for it other than what I'm calling it, but how does a fake double eviction work? Well, let's use this as an assumption that Tiffany is voted out. In Hannah versus Tiffany, Tiffany's sent out the door. Well, instead of going to jury house, Tiffany, as she walks out the door where Julie is, instead, she's just pulled off to the side of the stage, sent off to a waiting room somewhere like that. And she's told, don't say anything, but your game may not be over yet. So she's waiting. Meanwhile, inside the house, all the house guests are rushing around, getting ready. They compete in the HOH competition. So whoever wins makes their nominations. They then go play veto. Whoever wins that chooses to use veto or not, just a regular thing. At that point, they then have the eviction ceremony. Theoretically, the fifth place person is voted out and sent to the jury house as well. But instead, they walk out the door and here's Tiffany waiting for them. So now you've got two evicted house guests. At that point, you have a little mini battle back, fight to get back in the house. One of them prevails. One of them doesn't. The person who doesn't then sits down, visits with Julie. Perhaps that's part of the live competition. I don't know. And the other person goes right back into the house and is still in the game, and we still have a final five. How cool would that be? And it's possible that all of this is taking place now, that the battle back, these two fighting against each other, that will be a live portion of the show. That part is the second half of tonight's 2-hour episode. It could be. I don't know. I have no inside information. But the schedule, if you look at the number of episodes left, the schedule probably has enough episodes left for us to be able to get down only to a final 5 by the end of tonight and still be able to take care of the rest of the season with that particular format. It's possible. So that's, I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks, no, it's not going to be anything that's exciting. It's going to be very basic. But I'd love to see the battle back. That would be a lot of fun. You don't have to worry about COVID if it all takes place fairly quickly. So I think it's a possibility. For all we know, the have-not room is no longer in place. We haven't had have-nots. Perhaps it's been converted into an isolation chamber. And if Tiffany got voted out, she got sent right back up to that isolation room. You can do that without the other house guests knowing. She could be sitting up there for the last 24 hours waiting, about 24 hours waiting for her chance to fight to get back in. It's a possibility. All right, now, if that's the case, let's talk about the most exciting thing that could happen if something like that did occur. Assume Tiffany is voted out, which I think is a safe assumption. It's a first eviction. Then for the HOH, assume Hannah wins HOH and she is successful in sending Kyland out the door. Just a random, or maybe she sends Xavier out the door, but we'll say Kyland. So now you got Tiffany and Kyland competing against each other in a battle back to get back in the house. Say that Tiffany wins this thing. Suddenly you go back into the house. Now you've got a final 5 that's composed of 2 men, Xavier and Big D, and 3 women, Hannah, Tiffany, and Azah. Everything's flipped around. As much as everyone feels like they understand the house dynamic, the guys feel like they've got the edge, everything gets thrown out the window. You now have 3 women in the house, 2 guys. You end up with a situation where Azah could play a very, very key role. She could be a swing vote between the ladies and the guys, and everyone's going to be fighting for Azah's attention, making promises to her. It could put her in a very interesting position. Again, it's all just supposition, assumptions, wishes, wild guesses. We don't know, but it'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? So there you go, guys. I just wanted to throw that out there. No live feeds, but doesn't mean I still don't have all kinds of Big Brother things to talk about. And I'm so happy to be able to talk about it with y'all. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Thursday. Tonight's the episode. Some of it may be live. We don't know, but tonight's the episode. We'll know so much more by the time that's over. We should have some live feeds coming back. So by tomorrow morning, I'll be able to talk a little bit more. And we'll have all kinds of things to talk about by then. So guys, y'all have a fantastic one. Oh, before I get away, just one quick thing. I don't normally throw this out there, but for those of you who are watching who have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. I mean, it makes it much easier for you to get notifications once these postings are done. I plan on doing some recaps of some other shows once Big Brother wraps up as well. If you got any suggestions on which ones you think I ought to do, let me know that as well. But if you get a chance, go out to YouTube. Well, you're already out there if you're watching this. Just hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate it and make it so much easier for all of us. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Thursday. I'm looking forward to tonight's episode, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow morning. Cheers, my friends. SKD143. Bye.